So let's start this meeting, this work session. The first item, of course, are our work session meeting minutes, regular, and our closed session for approval. The next item is the our police department, Acting Chief Beal would like to promote a couple of his officers. And Chief, you want to just give a brief overview or?
So for the last couple of months, the officers, since I've been working here as an officer, they've been doing a great job with DUI enforcement and traffic stops, coming to work and really take care of the town. So I think one way to retain the officer that we have is by giving them a little incentive and that's giving them a promotion.
Mm-hmm. And each of them have been here how long? Do you know off the top of your head?
It'll be kind of on at 18 months, October 28th and 29th. I'm sorry, October 27th and 28th.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that? Because we're going to bring that forth during our town meeting.
Can I just ask, is it a pay increase or a promotion to a different role or a different job?
I'm trying to get with the pay increase, the 5% for the pay increase to go along with the rank.
So they're changing rank also?
Yes. So Officer PFC Van Buren will go to corporal and Officer Ortiz will go to police first class.
Thanks.
Private first class.
Yeah.
That could be called police first class.
Yeah, we normally call it police first class.
Oh, okay.
Private first class. The military normally use private, and then we use police first class.
And so on our job descriptions, do we have, we must have private, huh?
No, it's probably just Rod thinking of the military.
Oh, no, I've never heard of police first class until just now, and it makes sense, police first class. I was just saying, was that on is it on our job description as police first class? Oh, we don't have that. Yeah, we don't have that.
No,
Okay.
It just says police officer on the job description.
Yeah. It wouldn't be a job description for that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No. I just will say the conference that I just came back from, Ms. Chester and I, you know, the police are definitely a subject matter, and retention is a subject matter as well as hiring. So I think with you saying, besides the fact that they're doing their job and doing, it appears above what's expected in a sense, and for retention purposes, I believe this is a great idea. Not that you created this idea just to retain them, but considering all of that, I think it's a good move. So, so we have the approval of the council to go forward with this. Well, it's already
Definitely.
it's going to happen. Yeah. Thank you for your sign on for it. Okay.
Well, I figured y'all gonna kick me out again. So
Are they going to be at the meeting tonight?
No, Ortiz is here. I can have him on board for the meeting. But normally no.
No, if you didn't find it necessary, no, that's fine. That's fine. And then the next item is the consideration of approval with Ultimate and to install 2 speed cameras on Kenilworth. So I think this would be like a joint presentation with, more than joint. We have Acting Chief Beal, Sue Ellen Ferguson, and Mr. Barnes. So whoever wants to jump out there.
Well, just to give you a quick background, as you recall, this conversation started about 6 months ago. And so it has progressed through various forms of conversation with former Chief Gibson and then now with Acting Chief Beal. And Sue Ellen has been great at taking the lead on negotiating the contract with Mike. Michael Phelan is on tonight from Ultimate, so we welcome Michael and glad to have him here to also answer questions. He and Kevin, another member of Ultimate, was on the negotiating team to come to get to this final agreement. So I'll let Sue Ellen cover the highlights of the agreement, as she worked really hard going back and forth, getting it all into the shape that she thought benefited the town the most. And then the last thing that we'll talk about is the proposed fee proposal that's included in the contract. So I'll turn it over to Sue Ellen. Our Acting Chief Beal, do you have something you want to say?
No, sir.
Okay. The contract that you have right now, the draft, is still subject to negotiation. We were talking about it today, and there will be a more robust provision concerning getting together at the 3-month and 6-month stage to evaluate whether or not the cost per camera is appropriate, and to reflect the fact that we want it to be fair, which means that Ultimate should not be having to work so that they lose money to be able to process through the cameras, but also that the town is receiving a fair price. Because these are your first 2 cameras, you don't have a history like a number of the other places that I've negotiated for that already kind of have a kind of a set amount they know of violations that will likely occur. And so it's easier to determine what a good rental fee would be. In this case, what we have done instead is, in part, to insert a provision that means that if for some reason the cameras are not producing the amount of income that is required to pay for the cameras, then that is never fixed through the course of the term of the contract. The town is not required to pay it any overage, and the town would be relieved of that debt. So the way it works is, if you had a $10,000, say, fee per camera, and the camera only brought in $8,000 money, you would have a $2,000 debt to Ultimate normally. But what will happen is, if the next month you get $12,000, that extra 2 will be used to pay the what you didn't get paid the prior month. If you continue to carry a negative balance through the time, then the debt will be extinguished at the end of the term. And we wanted to have that kind of provision because we weren't sure what the history on these cameras was going to be. So Ultimate believes that and I think we agree that provision won't have to come into play because there will be a sufficient number of citations issued, but that's to protect the town just in case. So, and also we have gone to the flat fee per camera, which my reading is required by the code, and that's what the counties have. That's what most of the municipalities have, is a flat fee. Mr. Barnes and I heard the proposal for the flat fee for these cameras this afternoon, and Mr. Phelan is here to talk to you about that. I believe that Rod is not recommending that number, so because of the amount. So he can present on that a little bit more, but otherwise it's a fairly standard agreement. We are going to add in a provision that will require Ultimate to give us not an audit, but a catch up on a routine basis as to whether or not we are getting the correct amount of funds. So a double check to get that, and that will be inserted too.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. I wanted to ask the question and then we'll move on to Mr. Felon. The write-off at the end of the, is it the end of the contract? Is that what you referring to? Okay, all right. You said in the end and I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
contract, yeah. Okay, no problem. Sounds great. What was I gonna say? Yeah, Michael, did you want to, and first, thank you for being here. Thank you
Yes,
for
ma'am.
answering all of the questions, the back and forth, and then being so willing to meet with us to ensure that we understand and we're retaining. And just thank you so much.
Well,
You-
absolutely, Mayor. What we're here to do is to make sure that we all are kind of on the same page. These programs, they've been around Prince George's County for quite a while, and Maryland for that matter, but they're still controversial. And so we want to make sure it's done correctly and make sure that you guys have everything that you need so you're not worried about what happens when the cameras go live. And then, we put that safety aspect out on Kenilworth Avenue and slow those motorists down. So just to give you a quick little background, I won't go into a lot of the math on how we got to that number, but I just want you guys to kind of be aware of. So when we did a speed study back in April, we had a third-party vendor come out and put tubes down on both sides of Kenilworth Avenue for 2 days and analyze that data. And that was when Chief Gibson was here. So based on the total number of violations at 12 miles per hour or more, we were coming up with around 600 violations a day. So when you look at that number, 1,200 per side or for both cameras, that's times 365 days. It's a pretty large number. So we know that there's always a natural decay with these systems. You put them out, people recognize that they're there. You always have some type of decay in the total number of violations that you see. So we put in an 80% decay off the start to show that we're only going to collect 80% of the potential violations compared to what we had for the speed study. So that left us to that 240 times 2. And then that's what got us ultimately up to the 21,875 per camera. Now, as Sue Ellen mentioned, sticker shock, you look at it and you go, oh moly, that's a lot of money for a camera. But with the number of violations that we're anticipating is going to come off of Kenilworth Avenue, I don't think there will ever be an issue with collecting those funds. And actually, we don't even start invoicing until about 90 days in, about that 3-month mark, because we give time for those programs to build some violations in, right? If we were to start the end of this month and we were to go through November, we might issue a lot of citations, but no one's paying yet. So we're not going to invoice for that November month until February and so on. So you'll always will have money in the account that we're maintaining. So even if there is a month where it's a little bit lower in payment rates, the carryover balance, as Sue mentioned in the previous months, will just keep rolling over, until it's satisfied. And I don't see there ever being a problem where you'll have a balance at the end of our contract. But we want to make sure that everything's fair, so we put it in there. And so that way we have our best option for both you and us. And then we'll revisit, as Sue Ellen said, in 3 months and in 6 months. And we'll have some data with the cameras out there to know exactly how many violations we are processing through. And if we need to adjust that monthly rental fee, then that's something that we can work together and continue it to be fair and equitable for both us and you guys, and including the safety standpoint.
You said that you wouldn't bill November until starting in February. Did I hear that right?
Correct.
Why the long delay?
So we want to make sure that the citizens that happen to get citations in November have a chance to pay. And so you have about 30 days, 45 days to make payments on those citations. So we want to make sure that the program has some money coming in so you guys aren't paying out of pocket. You're not worried about where those funds are going to come from. We do it with all of our clients across Maryland. And it never comes down to having them pay out of pocket for these programs. It's always violator funded.
Okay, but I thought you were saying you weren't billing
That's
the
what I thought.
violators. I thought you were saying you weren't gonna bill the violators.
No,
until-
no, 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 I apologize. No, no, we'll mail the citations. They'll have to pay, you know,
Okay.
the program will be running as if it was a live program. We just won't bill the town for that month until there's money that's been collected from the violators.
Okay,
Yep.
I feel
So
better about that.
Sorry about the confusion.
billing of the violators, does that begin right when the cameras go live? Or is there like a grace period?
So
Um, mhm.
Maryland law requires a 2-week warning period for any new installations. So, you know, obviously we would want to wait until we have signs out, you know, have the draft citation completed. So that way both Sue Ellen, the chief, and, you know, Mr. Barnes can look at, and whoever else wants to look at, make sure that, you know, we follow the letter of the law when it comes to the citation draft. And then we'll put out a notice to say, okay, we're going to go live on date, whatever. And then that's when the cameras will automatically switch on to live enforcement.
Superb, superb. And then also the camera location. Is that something that Ultimate does? You find, based on the study, you find the appropriate location? Or is this something that we can decide?
It's twofold, to be honest with you. I mean, because Prince George's County authorizes now for residential enforcement, that's what got us to the point where allowing us to put cameras on Kenilworth Avenue. Because, you know, before you had to have a school zone and we didn't have one in Edmonston. So the camera location, I mean, we put the speed study up by the apartments about, I don't know, maybe it was a quarter mile or so from where the red light camera currently sits. But we can adjust if, you know, if there's a need for a camera in another residential part of Edmonston, or we need to adjust where we put those cameras. We're open to suggestions from you guys, and we will do the speed studies and evaluate any new locations as we go forward through the program.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Chester, Mr. Johnson?
No. Aren't we limited in the location by the speed limits in the state regulations? Like you can't put them on, I didn't think you could put them on streets that had like a speed limit under a certain threshold.
So the minimum threshold is 20. But for the residential enforcement, where we're talking for Kenilworth Avenue, the maximum speed limit you can put a camera on is 35 miles an hour. So as long as it's 35 mile an hour or less, you're authorized by state law to put a camera out. And as long as there is residential area within 300 feet of that particular stretch of road where, and that meets with the apartment complex, then that's where we were able to determine to have our first set of cameras out.
And
Yeah, because that is a drag strip.
Yes, it is.
Ms.
Oh.
Chester?
can you explain just a little bit more about what it is that goes into the costs of the cameras? Like what factors into that? What are you?
Absolutely. So, you know, we have our maintenance that's built into that. So our field technicians, my engineers who come out and maintain the cameras while they're out being used. We have a processing department who processes the citations as they come through before being sent to the police for final review. We also offer call center support. So we have a 24 or a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 customer call center where citizens will call us for any issues or questions or concerns or make payments. We offer the website for them to make payments over the web. Then of course we can mail in checks as well to our lockbox that we've established on your behalf. So you know, a bulk of what we see is going to be the total number of violations that we're processing through, the amount of work that we're doing on that end, which is we're basing it on that, you know, that lower number. And of course, if it goes higher and we can keep it the same, then that just means more revenue for the town. If we have to adjust it, if the revenue or if the citations aren't there, like what we had envisioned with the speed study, then we'll adjust that accordingly as well. So that way everything is fair and equitable.
So the cost of the cameras and of the processing of violations, that varies based on the number of citations, or that's the fixed rate?
We don't really have a set fixed rate on how we process. We try to stick around $12 per 40. So $12 per citation is, you obviously we can't call it $12 per citation because the state law prohibits that. But that's what we kind of look at with our mailing costs, our personnel to go fix the cameras, all of our overhead that we take into play when it comes to, and that's where we kind of like to keep that number at. But of course, like anything else, we know that there's factors that we don't know yet. We know that this is a brand new program, so we had to go with what our best first shot, and then we'll adjust it accordingly if we need to, as the months progress.
All right. Do you have any more questions, Ms. Chester?
Maybe. I'll let Sue Ellen ask her question.
Oh, I didn't see Sue Ellen. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sue.
This is setting the appropriate amount per camera is one of the hardest things to do. And we certainly all wish we could go back to the old way of doing it by citation, because that was a lot more certain than this is, but the legislature changed that. But I sent to Rod earlier today. I know what numbers are being asked for in some other places, and I realize that there is a difference based on how many cameras there are out there and how much work it takes to process each of the citations that are issued by those cameras. But Montgomery County just signed their agreement recently, and it's about $6,000 per camera per month. And University Park, which is not that far from you, initially was paying $4,400 per month. I know that has gone up because they have a very a lot of tickets that are being issued, at least initially. So there's a provision in this contract that every 100 citations that go up, you can move up to another level because you're talking about another additional workload that goes into it. So I'm just curious as to why that is so different from the number that came in today.
Well, I think so. I mean, the unknown is our biggest thing, and the fact that we did a traffic study where we were getting 600 violations a day. So that's 1,200 violations every 24 hours, and you multiply that by 365, and then add in, I mean, times 365. That's 438,000 events per year that we could potentially process. And you multiply that times 40, which is the cost of a citation, that's $17.5 million. Now, obviously, we know that number is exaggerated because we're not going to have 100% of people pay. People are going to naturally slow down when they see the camera, when they see the signs go out there. So that's why we put that 80% decay in with off the start. So instead of charging 600, we charged 120. And so that way that 80% is already taken into account. So that way we can cover the unknown of it's probably going to be more. It's probably going to be around 300 or 350, but at least we have it covered. So that way you're not paying, $400 or $50,000 per camera per month or whatever it might be. But with the provision that you suggested, I think that we have a good working process to reevaluate this cost in 3 months, and we can really see how many citations we're issuing, and if it needs to be adjusted, then we have absolutely no holdup with adjusting our number, so that way we are all fair and equitable when it comes to this. And if it needs to stay the same because it's a lot more violations, then we'll probably keep it the same for however long we need to.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Barnes?
Barnes.
Oh, no, I'll defer to Council Member Chester. She had a question.
Did we ever find out what equipment is already out there right now on Kenilworth Avenue?
Yes, ma'am. Those are red light cameras.
Right.
So they don't do any type of speed enforcement. And now that the new law is passed, we could reevaluate where the camera should be. I know I talked to Chief Beal and Rod about possibly adding a second red light camera a little bit further down Kenilworth at
Buchanan.
Sorry, I was wrong. Yes. And so that's, another growth to the program that we've currently had, and we've been red light, with Edmonston since 2011. And we've been growing the program, and it just so happened this year we were able to get the law changed for Prince George's County to allow this residential enforcement. So.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Barnes.
So my only concern is what Sue Ellen just went over. I was going to go over those. I'm thank Sue Ellen for providing those numbers. I'm just a little concerned about starting out at the 21,875 per month per camera, particularly since we're going to review it 3 months and again at 6 months and can adjust those numbers. And when you look at something like University Park that has East-West Highway and Route 1, I'm assuming they have cameras on Route 1 and probably on East-West. Those are as busy streets as Kenilworth would be. So while I'm confident with what Mike and Kevin are saying that they are being ultra conservative, when when you calculate out using the numbers he thrown out there, it's a lot of money. It's just a really big amount of money, and it's going to solve safety issues for sure, and that's what the focus should be, but it's also going to provide a lot of revenue. And so my concern, and I expressed it today when we were talking with Kevin and Mike late in the day, that I would love to see that number a little bit lower per month to start than the 21,875. But if you all are okay with it, and obviously the good thing is the language that Mike and Kevin agree and their company agreed to, that protects us so that we don't have a major loss of any kind. And it's maybe moot point, I don't know, but it just makes me a little uncomfortable.
I definitely would like to see it lower, considering what University Park, what they're paying for their cameras. Yeah, they're paying less than 5,000, and we're going to be paying more than 20,000.
Correct. And, the roadway design comes a lot into play that it's unclear on where University Park has their current systems at. They could be on a road where it's not on Route 1 or on, Adelphi Road. It's hard to tell. And, I understand the concern, and I will talk to my boss, and we'll come in and reevaluate and get back to Rod and Sue Ellen and the chief on, if is there another option that we can go with. I mean, obviously we want to work with the town of Edmonston. We want this to be a relationship that we grow, since we've been doing it for Red Light for so long, that I want to make this work for you guys and show a successful program. So,
and I'm confident. I want everybody to know I'm confident that ultimate Mike and Kevin are working hard to make this agreement come together and to make it beneficial for the town and benefit. But ultimately they're in it also to make a profit for their company. And so we want it to be, as we said today, we want it to be fair and equitable for both parties, and we want to make sure that we're all protected. So I just would feel a little comfortable. I mean, we're going to look at it at 3 months, and if they set the number at the wrong amount, then obviously it's going to change at 3 months, or it's going to change at 6 months based on what they believe is going to occur. So I just would like to see it start out, and you all can. This won't hold up the processing of this. This is something you can approve tonight with subject to finalization with Sue Ellen and final agreement. But I just, that's my only concern.
And then I say, I'd like to see the price go down, because they can always raise it up, and I know they can always lower it. And from the look Sue Ellen gave when he said Route 1 and Adelphi Road, I think Sue Ellen might have an insight on maybe where these cameras are. No?
Sorry, those are the roads that they're on.
Okay.
Now, I know they're paying more than the amount I cited for you, because there are a lot of citations coming through there, and their price can go up depending on volume because of the work that's involved in that, but it's nowhere near the $20,000.
So any more questions?
I say we continue to go with it and work on having Michael try to get that price down a little bit for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's on the table tonight to approve.
Yeah, I say we approve it, and then we can, that final number can be worked in after we approve it, and because it's a good safety.
That amount, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be done, and for all in all, we're a winner no matter what.
Yep.
Because of the traffic up there.
Yep. Safety. Ms. Chester?
Yes. Sorry.
Any more
I
questions
wasn't saying
or
anything.
reservations? No, I just want, before I move on.
Yeah,
if you
I
had
mean,
any-
I think I haven't been like thrilled through the process. I feel like the negotiations have been really complicated, and there just seems to be like these kind of big swings in costs and what we're responsible for, and so I'm not loving the process, but I would love people to slow down on Kenilworth more than anything. So there's definitely the safety issue that I definitely am in support of, and this is one of the best mechanisms to bring about that kind of public safety, then I would support that. But
Okay. Well, that's
Look
the
at-
main focus.
We look at it this way, no matter what, no money is coming out of our pocket.
Correct.
We're not losing any amount of money, but we are probably going to save a few lives.
yeah, and again, I mean, it's some of this is just the sort of the process it's been a bit
Well,
discouraging.
I think some of
I think that-
I think some of it might have been our fault with Chief Gibson. 'Cause
Well,
I don't think-
I mean, some of the terms were, I was not comfortable with some of the earlier terms. in the earlier versions.
we started out with the issue of the per lookup, and we spent a lot of time on that, and we didn't necessarily need to. We got past, once we got past that and everybody was okay with doing a set fee, I think then it became much simpler. And then when we got contracts that were proposed from Ultimate that were good, and that Sue Ellen could actually plow through, add the language that she needed, felt it needed to protect us from per state law, then it really went quite smooth and was not a particular problem. And I think the key thing that was just made, the key point is what Betsy just made. We don't lose either way based on the language that got inserted with the fail-safe program. I would just like, from a standpoint of the history of the other communities around us, have that number just down a little bit to start out with.
Absolutely. Well, again,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for going through the process, because that's what we're supposed to do, is to go through the process so we can make the informed decision for our residents. And thank goodness for the expertise of Mr. Felon and our police department and Sue Ellen and Mr. Barnes. So thank you. And I believe we'll be making a great decision if we approve this, because first it's safety. And Kenilworth is a drag strip. It's been a drag strip for years, and we've had some terrible accidents on it. And, this is just a step forward. If we find that it's a problem, then we'll have to give Mr. Felon the bad news that.
Well, and I appreciate Mayor and the council, your time tonight. Happy to be here answering questions, and if go forward through tonight at your actual council meeting, and after this, I'm an open book for you and your staff to ask questions about this. So I'm here to help out. We're not here to make it harder on you guys. We want this to be successful. And I will work with my boss, and we'll come back with Rod and the chief and Sue Ellen, and we'll come back with something different.
And we've had a relationship with you already. So
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Thank you so much. All right. And we won't need them back on to our regular meeting. So thanks for your input, and you can sign off if you'd like.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. You guys have a
All
great evening.
right, take care. All right, thank you everyone for that dialogue. So we're all in agreement to go forward with it
Yes.
this evening. All right, cool, very good.
Yeah, all for it.
Mhm.
And big thanks to Sue Ellen for being such a bulldog on some of that language earlier, though. I mean, some of those earlier versions were really awful. So thank you, Sue Ellen.
Welcome. It does help to have others that I have to look at too, and that did help a lot.
All right, cool, thank you again. The next item is the rejection of the bid for $227,500 from ENR Services for the Crittenden Street resurfacing. It was too high. So we need to reject that bid, and we need to approve going out for a rebid for that project, the resurfacing project. Mr. Barnes.
We will revise the specifications and take a look at how we can get it down. They recommended a couple of actions that Mike, our engineer, had included in that kind of escalated the price. Plus, I have found some more companies to reach out to. So hopefully, when we go back out.
I'm sorry, and at that time, they were the only ones that bid it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's why we have to reject that bid. So
And
go ahead,
pretty
Mr.
sure-
Barnes, I cut you. Oh. Mhm.
I was gonna say, they just started tearing it up for our water main work. And so I don't know what sort of, how hard it would be for firms to come in and look at that, or do we wait until they
Yeah,
fix the
I've had,
street from that
um,
before, and see
right.
what the condition is then? It's
right,
tricky
no,
finding
we
out.
have actually had a conversation with WSSC and their contractor. We won't be resurfacing it until they've completed their work with the water main and the hookups. And then they, instead of them coming back in with a temporary patch, we'll come in with the full resurfacing at that time. So we're not tearing up the street multiple times and then fixing and then
Mhm.
tearing up and then fixing again. Yeah, we're coordinating it.
Yeah.
What about our in-town paving company?
Yeah, none of them bid, and I've talked to a couple of them. They've been slammed. The ARPA funding gave a lot of extra money for projects throughout the region, and so they're just slammed. And some of it is terms of just not available to do the work. And it's not a very big project. It's only to move in the equipment for 3.5 blocks is a big task. And so, yeah. I reached out personally to 4 companies here in town, so.
And the terrible thing is, everything is expensive. Prices have been hiked up just tremendously. So.
Yeah, that's the other component. I may have to go back to CDBG and say, inflation has raised the cost of fuel, the cost of asphalt's gone up, and so oil based, and so we're going to need some more funds potentially to do the project or not be able to do it. So,
Right.
And if we can't do it, then WSSC, of course, has to permanently resurface it once their project is complete. We're actually, with this grant, saving them a few dollars using our grant to do the pavement after their work versus them doing the work. So that's a good thing for them.
Okay, no more comments on that. All righty, fine. And the next item is stormwater management best review and approval, Mr. Barnes, of the Stormwater Management Best Practices Grant Program for flood mitigation for our residents. Sure. Yeah, everything you're saying.
We agree
Yeah,
100%.
we're following you very well.
there.
Say it
I was
again.
trying, I can't multitask. I was trying to do two things and pull up the actual document. And anyway, I sent this out last week for your all's review and comments back. I did get comments back from 3 of the council members. I appreciate that greatly. I tried to incorporate them into what's presented tonight, with the exception of the only thing I didn't incorporate was the amount per grant. So I figured that was something that you would, all 5 of you needed to discuss and come up with agreement on. But I did incorporate that it had to be done, work by a licensed contractor or by the homeowner with following building code, of course, and then submitting pictures of final work before reimbursement occurred. I did also include being able to fix windows, basement and crawl space windows and doors waterproofing. So I added that to the list. So if somebody's got bad windows that are letting in water, I think Mr. Frunk is in the house is an example of that, then he could use this grant to get his windows sealed. Or if you have a crawl space that you want to get waterproofed, or you have a basement door where the water comes down the steps into the basement door and you want to waterproof that, then I included that into one of the options for the grant. So other than that, I didn't make any other changes based on what comments I've received to date. I think that was most of them that I heard and got, but if there's more, we can continue to do that. And if you need more time, that's great too. I put it on the agenda tonight for approval, but it certainly doesn't have to be approved tonight. We can continue to massage it and change it and get it to everybody's satisfaction before we announce it to the public.
Any comments, ladies and gentlemen?
Now I read over and it looked good to me.
So I think we need to discuss the figure amount. Initially, it was 2,000, and then I believe Ms. Tuberville and maybe Ms. Chester thought that 4,000 was a good amount. So let's talk about that and the whys. Ms. Chester?
Oh, I didn't give an alternate amount. I was a little worried that 2,000 might be low, but I guess I'm curious, like people are not, it gets based on actual expenses, actual costs that they can document. That gets a little, maybe a bit complicated if people are doing their own work. If there's an expectation that we're just covering materials in those cases,
Yep.
I don't know if we want to clarify something like that.
Yeah, it would just be for materials. There would be no reimbursement for time and
Labor.
work that the homeowner did. They would only be putting in receipts for the materials they purchased for the project. Or if they needed a contractor to say come in and approve the electrical hookup, if say they're doing a sub pump and they've dug the hole themselves, they went out and bought the pump, they poured their concrete, they've done all that work, and then they just want an electrician to come in for a quick fee to make sure everything's good to go, then obviously they would be submitting that bill too. But for that particular project. But many of the projects, the anticipation I had was that many of these projects are flood mitigation improvements to their homes, that homeowner would be responsible going out and getting the professional to tell them what that work might be, if it's guttering, what that estimate is, and what they spend on that, if it's fixing a door to the basement so that it's waterproof. Some homeowners can do their own work and others can't. And so sometimes it's going to include contract labor and sometimes it's not.
I think we just need to be more detailed in what we're expecting as far as documentation, or if that makes sense, or if we think that if we agree that if you can do the work yourself, but we'll cover materials, just to make some of that more clear so that we're not, or just kind of managing expectations, I think is useful.
Well, I think when it says you have to turn in your receipts, that's documentation for everything. You're not, if I have a contractor come in, I'm going to have his receipt, I will turn it in. If I go out and buy a sub pump and I hook it up myself, I turn in the receipt for the sub pump. I mean, that's pretty, I think, kind of simple. You know, you turn the, you first you're going to turn in what you're going to, you know, your scope of your job. And then from there, if it gets approved, then you turn in your receipts, and that's what you're going to get reimbursed for.
I just think we have a lot of people that work in these kind of trades in town. And so for them to sort of think through, like, I could do that myself, but my time is worth money. You know what I mean? I just to
Well,
be on
then
the safe
their
side.
time, that you can't, your time is worth nothing. If you get a contractor, their time. But
Yeah,
if
I mean, I
you,
think then we can put a little asterisk and, like, you know, we're not paying for residents.
Yeah, I hear clear. Yeah, I hear clearly what you're saying,
but
Councilmember
it says
Chester.
licensed contractor, licensed electrician, you know, if you're going to do the work yourself and you got a company and you put in your company's doing this work, then they could, you know, realistically pay for their time.
So I think that this is almost a catch-22. We have to consider, just like Ms. Chester said, that there are people that can do the work. So just think, if we give, let's say 5,000, that's not what I'm suggesting at all, but let's say 5,000. We have a lot of people that can do the work, that work for businesses, that have their own business, and so on. We have to find a way to verify that the work that they're doing in their house, the money that they're getting from us is for the work that they're actually doing in their house. So I really think we are going to have to narrow it down a bit, because we either need to say, you know, we have to work with the contractor, because there's a lot of dishonesty that goes on when money is given, you know, when there's an opportunity. And just like you said, Ms. McCulley, they have to provide the receipts. Well, I can go out and I can provide receipts for Home Depot. I can myself, Home Depot, you know, Lowe's and all of that, and not use it for my home, but turn it in to collect the finances because I've used it for another project.
I think Ron also said we need a picture of the completed job.
Well, I'm gonna complete the job, but I didn't use Home Depot. I had some in my basement already. So that's what I'm saying. We just have to be, we're gonna really have to kind of home in a little bit more, I think. And giving a great amount is gonna cause us to fall into that trap.
We can also say that. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
No, I was saying, why not have okay, like what's that company, JBL, the ones that does a lot of work in the town? Why not have like a contractor oversee all these particular jobs? That way you know for sure who's doing what and what's what.
Or we have a code enforcement officer. If the work is done inside your home,
yeah, that too.
Then our code officer needs to come out, make sure that the work was done, pictures were taken. If work is done outside the home, like gutters or landscaping, we can see that for ourselves.
You know, that's a good point too, Mr. Johnson. Maybe call on a couple of contractors to kind of oversee the project, and they could, I guess we would be hiring them in a sense, and they could go into the homes or maybe see what the resident wants done, and they go check it out, and they can actually price it. Either we use them, and if we can't use them, maybe they can say, this is who we need, or suggest something. And if they have proof that the resident can do it, then that contractor can say to us, they're going to Home Depot, it costs this much, and they can do the work themselves. Something like that.
Yeah.
So like two contractors.
Which I don't, to me, if they want to do their work themselves, the homeowner, then I would say our contractor has to come in and check and verify.
Right.
If
Right.
somebody wants to hire a contractor to come in our home, I don't think they should be restricted to using who we have, to the contractors we say they have to be. Let's say you want to put windows, and a door in your basement, and they want to hire Anderson Renewal. I think they should be able to hire them. I don't think they should have to go and use our contract, who we recommend.
They
But
could
I think
then work with Mr. Barnes
Yeah, but if they want to do the work themselves,
or Anna.
then I think then, we have the two contractors, and they will be the ones to say, yes, the work was done. It was done, to code and correctly. But then we're also going to be taking money out of the funds to have our contractor to go in to make sure the work was done.
Do we have a sense of how many of these repairs require like permitting and require or have a code sort of standard to meet? I'm not familiar enough. Like if you put in sump pumps, is that something that you'd have to pull a permit, that there's code?
No,
around
none of the items on the list require a permit.
Okay, that's good to know. Mhm.
Yeah, the only one on there that might require a permit would be basement door modification, Chief, is that right? Or even it wouldn't, right? Because it's just
Modifying a basement door?
Yeah, you're fixing something that's already existing.
Yeah, no, you're good on that end. No problem.
It's all
So yeah,
just-
there's nothing on the list that requires a permit.
As long as it's R&R, you don't need a permit.
Mhm.
So, let's kind of tweak this just a little bit more. Just a little bit.
So we'll say
Because
this for
I'm liking the idea of our contractor. I'm hearing what you're saying, Ms. McCulley. Let's say it's windows and they have a contractor that maybe they know that has good pricing. But I think that contractor should then work with, I think that's when they either work with Mr. Barnes or work with our code department. No one can have a contractor that's not working with one of our employees for accountability purposes. And I think also if we have an outside contractor like JBL, who does waterproofing and all of that good stuff and restoration, and then JOM, who does a lot of our work in the town, working with them, they can actually, if we're hiring them, they could actually sort of manage it in a way. I know that it was mentioned about a part-time manager for this particular issue, but I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
But they could actually see the work. They know how much the work would basically cost. They could either do it themselves or then communicate back with Mr. Barnes or our code department. I think that would be good accountability, because my fear is people taking advantage in a way that I know that they could.
I think if the homeowner wants to go to a legitimate business, window company, or let's say for the gutters, I mean, you got some guttering, you can get, as long as you own that house, those gutters are under warranty. Some have it that when you sell your home, you pay a certain amount of money and the warranty will go to the new homeowners. I think the homeowners should have the right to hire who they want to do that work and not be restricted to who we use in the town.
But just think about it. For whatever purposes or reasons, they didn't have the work done. And so we're providing you an opportunity to get the work done. And if you have to use one of the 5 out of our lineup that we know are legitimate, what would the harm be? I know you're not seeing harm in it.
I know
you're not
you
seeing
mean
harm.
my thing is if I wanted to put gutters on the house,
Mhm.
and I have to pay for that company to come in, and I'm paying them to put gutters on my house, then I submit my reimbursement to Mr. Barnes. I should have the right. I know what the companies that come in, I know the companies we use in the town, and I know they're very good. But if I can hire a company that's going to do it, and I know I got my warranty for as long as I'm living in my house, or I have the right to, pay whatever when I sell my house to the new homeowners I think that should be, because initially I'm putting my money out to have the work done. And if it's a legitimate company, they have a business license, they have a home improvement license. I think that as a homeowner should be able to use who they want to hire. Now, if a homeowner wants to do the work themselves, let's say I want to put the gutters on the house myself. After they're up there, if they want to come in, inspect, say, oh, yep, you did this right. To me, we're saying only these companies can be used. And I think we can get in more trouble if there's a problem down the road, well, you made me use them.
We only use one company for weatherization, but
Yeah. I'm just saying, to me, I think we're opening a door saying, well, that's who you told me I had to use, and I didn't like the way they did it.
Yeah.
They're not getting the work done anyway. Well, go ahead. They're not getting the work done, but go ahead, Ms. Chester.
No, that's a good point, that we don't want people to be kind of dissatisfied with the work and turn and say like, well, you forced me to use this company, they did a terrible job. And I mean, if they picked it themselves, and then buyer beware, kind of, whatever that expression is, applies more. And I don't know if we would want to, not every one of these jobs requires a contractor.
No, probably
Certainly
not.
that,
Yeah.
hopefully not a huge number.
But I mean, if it requires a contractor, I think the homeowner should be able to pick their contractor out, because initially the homeowner is paying the money to have the work done, and then submitting the work, their receipts to the town to be reimbursed.
Yeah.
And if we only have 1, 2, or 3 companies that are actually that we're saying they can do the work.
I mean, that hits up with scheduling too. I mean, we'd hate to be like, oh, you can only use these companies and they can't come out for 4 months, 5 months. I mean, that would be.
I'm gonna say, well, what the hell?
Create a log jam.
Or like paving Clinton Street. Eric, stop it.
In the ideal world, we could negotiate some sort of like bulk rate, retain some contracting firm to do all the work and cut us a great deal because of the volume, but those days are gone. It's probably
Okay.
unethical to do that.
So I guess we can tweak that. That's fine.
So we'll leave it
So what
off.
do
We'll leave it off tonight and tweak it and have it for the next meeting.
So what are we looking at for reimbursement
Oh. Mhm.
dollars?
So if we're reimbursing actual costs, then there's going to be a lot of people, ideally, that aren't hitting whatever threshold we have. And then I'm working.
It's not at my house.
And then
Not
that makes it possible to.
Is that your dog?
It is. He's real mad. I came home from work and just got right on the computer and he's like, done. He's missing it's dinner time.
Oh,
Yeah.
These dogs
what-
are human.
What you could do is set, we go out for our first round and we set $2,000 as our $2,500, whatever you say. And we say $250,000 is the maximum we're going to put to the program. When that money runs out, we're out. Because when you think about it, all 273 homes could apply for this program. And if 273 homes apply for the program at $2,000 a home, that's $546,000. Or if it's at $4,000, that's almost $1 million. So, it's kind of a toughie because we don't know how many people. We know that 90 homes flooded in 2020. And so potentially those 90 homes, 100 homes, and that's why I initially thought, and I used 100 as at 2,500 times 100 was $250,000. And that's initially why I did that, was based on that history. But we don't know that. We don't know who, like Hillary says, one person might come in and only apply for $900. Another person may come in and apply for the full 2,000. Depending on what they do at their home site. I do like the idea of the contractor, you've got a potential conflict if the contractor that we're using to evaluate the home is then also providing a bid. That's a little bit of a conflict of interest, but it certainly isn't a good idea. And I think giving more time to discuss and tweak is a good idea.
And I do think there's going to be more people that are going to apply than the 100 homes that were flooded, because other homes get groundwater, which those homes could, do waterproofing, can upgrade their, I think when we're talking the one mean that go into a wider gutter, then, the 3-inch, if you can go to a 4 or 5-inch, that will help with the runoff. So but I think we have to cap it at, this is how much money is going to be in there, first come, first serve. When it's gone, it's gone.
Well, and you can always come back with more money. I mean, more allocation. You can use reserve funds. You can use other funds. If we're the ultimate contract may be a big windfall. So there may be some money available for use there. But I agree, Betsy, like Miss Grace, who lives clear over on 47th and Hamilton, she doesn't get flooded, but she groundwater comes into her basement. And so she needs waterproofing done on her basement or tiling around the outside.
The drain tiles.
Yeah. So.
And there's a lot of, my neighbors here on 52nd that we all get groundwater.
Right.
And some could be landscaping, some could be, waterproofing, and some could be, bigger gutters.
Or we could have someone right there on Decatur that doesn't get flooded, but they know they need new gutters.
Yeah. Our basement windows that, are leaking.
Or yeah. So that's why having a cap is good. Yeah. And what's there is there, what's gone is gone. It's an opportunity that was provided, and everyone loves an opportunity, and there's always a cutoff.
Yeah, and I think
always a beginning and an end.
If we have $2,000, per home, then everybody can get a piece of the pie and help.
And get a little something done.
I mean,
because 2,000 would help me to finish some project or start some project or, get a little something done. And that's where I am. Because if I didn't do it before, that's either because I couldn't afford it, and more than likely it's because I couldn't afford it. Any type of home improvements, especially like your exterior of your home, it's costly.
Yeah.
And even if I keep getting flooded, I want somebody else to take care of that in a sense. So if I get $2,000, then that's going to help me I can only get one window for $2,000, and it's only like a 5 by 7, not even that big window, but it would help. So I think that, okay, let's come back. These are great ideas. I know Mr. Barnes has been writing down great input.
I saw the steam coming off top of his head.
The other thing is we can couple these with the county's tax rebate program.
And
So,
that's what we talked about.
yes, so
Remember?
if you do, the rain garden, or if you do the pervious pavement, if you do some kind of grade or rain barrel,
Mhm.
you can get that reimbursed from, so not only can you get $2,000, but you can then get the
Mhm.
dollars that would come from that program too. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, we talked about providing them, and you did put some ideas in the newsletter about what
right.
you can do to upgrade for little to nothing.
And
And
as
so-
people are proposing what they want to do, is it, I mean, I don't want to create a lot of extra work, but is it possible to sort of look at what people are proposing and channel some people like, oh, well, there is a rebate program here, so you're not going to need as much from the, the recovery funds, and just to sort of do that at the first step so that we're not paying for things that people could get rebates for. If that makes sense.
And
That's the plan.
we've got the Edmonston Beautiful program, and we've got the weatherization program
Mhm.
through the Port Town, or the collaborative. And so we can steer for those improvements at the same time, also happening as an evaluation occurs. So yeah, good thinking.
Mhm.
Great. So so we're going to either table that or remove it from the regular agenda.
Yep.
And so the next item is the consideration of approval of purchasing lights and garland for the 40 light poles on Decatur. It's going to be beautiful street, from Mosca Design at the cost of $17,000. And Mr. Barnes is proposing that we use ARPA funds. I'm going to step away for a second, but it's open for Mr. Barnes, did you want to highlight?
Yes, ma'am. So a couple years ago, we added electrical outlets to all the streetlights on Decatur so that we could work towards accomplishing adding lighting decoration down Decatur at the holiday seasons. And so this is a one-time purchase, and obviously these will last for years. It isn't like we're going to only get them and put them out there and then they won't last. We won't have them available to put out again next year and the year after. They're quality, and they can be stored and used over and over and over. So obviously we need to get moving on this so that we can have them here for this year. But it would be a great addition to the holiday season for Decatur Street.
I like it. What do you think, Hillary? You're thinking.
I don't know. I'm a little lukewarm. Only because I'm just sort of mindful of Sarah, Councilmember Sarah Turber, like talking about us, like in some ways, like eating away in little bites at our ARPA funds. And I feel like this gave me a little sticker shock of like, that's almost the cost of an electric vehicle.
Look at it this way. We, for the town and for the residents, we need to, kind of up the game, make it a happier place, a more pleasant, to be out and about. We want people to walk. You have the garland, the lights. To me, you'll get people walking at night just to, look at that.
Yeah, we need our streets to stand out, man.
Sorry.
Go feed your dog.
I did. He gobbled it right up. Now he did eat.
Oh, I'll go on since the mayor's not back. Any other further objection? Obviously, you're going to vote on it in the council meeting.
No.
The next item is replacing our snowplow for our pickup truck, and trailer and tractor over on Lafayette has the plow that we use, Boss, and that price is installed and all of the equipment that comes with it. So we haven't bought a new plow for about 5 years, so it's definitely needed.
Wait. No.
We're gonna mute you, Hillary.
So how's everybody on the purchase of the snowplow,
I'm good. I'm fine.
Ms. Jester? Okay, so that's good. The next item is the consideration of approval for these Bartlett Tree Services for the work that was outlined in the agenda. You see all of the,
This is the next phase from our inventory and doing all the other things. They're severing vines, they're taking down dead trees, they're pruning all the trees. And I thought about this from an ARPA standpoint, and this is really a social equity, because one of the biggest things I get from people is they can't afford to trim their trees or to remove a tree. And so by us doing it, at least in the right of way, we're keeping our tree canopy healthy, but we're also providing that assistance to that homeowner that has the tree in front of their house.
And also help any diseased tree that they get rid of, it won't pass it on.
Yeah,
to the
correct.
others. I mean, that's,
no comment.
I'm good. It needs to be done.
Tree service is very, very important. It could destroy and it could also save. So we need our trees. We need it for flooding purposes. Doesn't seem like they're working out in that end, but on the other end, they are working out.
There's some healthy looking trees in the rain gardens.
Yeah, I bet.
Plus, you don't want a tree taken out of the power line and making us all grumpy.
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's the issue. Power lines and also trees that could be causing damage to some homes.
Yeah.
Especially if they've grown tremendously. You know, all the leaves that are going in that gutter or destroying their roof. We have to think about those things. So using the ARPA funds again, I did slightly hear Ms. Chester's comment about chopping away of the ARPA funds, but we wouldn't be able to do it any other way. Well, we could, but it would cost us big time. So I'm in total agreement with this.
We'd have to use reserves.
Yeah. Yeah. So where are you, Ms. Chester and Mr. Johnson, on this with the trees?
Good.
It's a cost of
I'm all for it.
$67,000. Yep, you good, Miss Chester? Okay. The next is the ordinance amending the personnel manual to clarify that all employee lunch break is not paid. Currently, it's just a word that could be misleading. And right now, I should say some department heads were not requiring, we only have 2, we're not requiring the employees to take lunch. And they're just being paid through that lunch because they're eating and they're breaking, but they're being paid. So that's not what our personnel manual says. And it's the word of may and shall, I believe, right? Yeah, Lord,
Right.
That word shall is, but it says may, and it should say shall or will. And yeah, it should say shall or will. And I guess that could be a Ms. Ferguson or Mr. Barnes kind of thing, but I would say will. Because if we change supervisors and all of that, and that's what's happened. I mean, it just wasn't done. And you know how people say, well, it's never been done. So that's what's been happening, but it should be done. Everybody's clear on that?
Well, yeah, shouldn't pay nobody to eat lunch.
It should be, or they have a 9-hour day, you know, I have a 9-hour day. So, yeah. Yeah. And then well, I can say that later. But I'm gonna say that now because I might forget. We also discussed with the 10 department heads that I have, we discussed some possible hour changes for customer service purposes. So that's what we discussed, and I think everybody's on board with that. It's so great having 10 department heads, you know, all the different departments that we have, and Edmonston. And next is a discussion.
Do we even have 10 employees?
Huh? I should say 12,
12.
right? 12, yeah, 12. So let's talk about our meetings going forward, effective November 1st or January 1st, whichever, December 1st, going hybrid. Allowing the residents to sign in on Zoom if they have any questions, and for us to be in the building. Or even if for some odd reason, maybe Miss Chester isn't in the building, but she's attending the meeting. I think that's Mr. Gray I didn't talk to him, but I think that can happen as well. Some of the council members are in, but they're on Zoom, I believe. Mr. Gray, you might have to chime in. But how do you feel about that? Or would you rather stay Zoom? Either way, the
No, I think
residents
we
will
should be in the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I knew that one.
Yeah, well, that's not up to me. But
Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure we could do that like that. If
oh yeah,
okay, cool. So it really would be the preference. I think the ability for council to either come in the building or go sign on Zoom would be fine with me, because how our lifestyles have changed, and you know, and also safety reasons, health-wise. So council?
That's fine with me, because when it's 32 degrees out, I'm signing up for Zoom.
and me too.
So we're cool with the hybrid.
So we would have some people on Zoom and some people in person. Is that? So if a public person, I mean, if a resident showed up here at town hall, we would let them in?
No, we're gonna do, oh, I thought we were doing all residents sign in.
Oh,
Okay.
again. I was just saying, yeah, but that's all up to you guys.
But that works, Rick. That'll work fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
As long as if when everybody comes into town hall, everybody has to have earbuds with a microphone on it and plugged into your laptop. Otherwise,
Mine is at town hall. Mine is at town hall, Mr. Gray.
right, only at town hall. When
I'm
when
just
there's
telling
more
you,
than
mine are at town hall.
oh no, I'm just saying in general. In general, so when everybody comes in, or if there's a couple people that's in there and they're like not close to each other, but they're in the same room, you got to have the
Yeah.
headphones and the microphone and the headphones, because otherwise you're going to get the feedback.
So, yeah. What happens when you and I are in the office at the same time, Mr. Barnes, and I don't use the headphones that Rick, yeah.
I'm gonna leave that alone.
Okay, so for the November work session, which is, I think, November 1st, we would go to this hybrid.
Up to you guys.
When is the annual meeting?
The council meeting in November is the 9th.
No, the annual meeting, well,
Oh, no, you mean the economic development meeting?
the legit annual meeting, is that the second or the first?
Oh, legit meeting?
So, because we talked about Hillary being able to get a class,
That's, yeah, during the day.
is that? Oh, he's looking now. It wouldn't start on a Wednesday anyway.
No, I think it's usually,
The
I think
9th
it's
is our
usually-
work
Was it
session.
October 18th? I don't know.
November 9th is the work session with the regular meeting to follow.
We're talking about,
Why don't we just start the first of the year?
because Mr. Johnson would prefer for it to start right away. But
Okay,
it doesn't mean that, I mean, everybody else could Zoom in,
right.
and Mr. Johnson and myself could go to and Mr. Barnes and Mr. Beal?
November 3rd, Mayor.
Oh, so
November
no-
3rd
so it's
is
November
legit.
3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Ms. Chester will talk about that in the annual meeting as well as Mr. Beal.
That's the meeting, Hillary, you were going to check on that you can get another class. It's the legit
Right.
November 3rd. Let's see, that's a Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Beal, I just thought it was a
Sorry.
great opportunity for you to go, because a lot of times we discuss risk management and police issues.
Oh, okay.
So,
And that's November 3rd or November 9th. I was trying to write it down.
oh, it's November 3rd in Annapolis.
Okay.
Correct. They're going to be talking about forecasting what will happen with post-COVID economy, First Amendment auditors, what local governments need to know about First Amendment audits and what staff should do. Telematics, a panel discussing the development and implementation of telematics program for government-owned vehicles. And then the Academy core class they're offering is Public Information Act. And usually I think the Academy class usually happens in the afternoon, right, Mayor?
Yep.
Right after lunch.
Yep. I usually leave then.
So I just have to get a couple components for it to work. So, I'll look those up and give you prices on those.
You can't use what you use at the other towns. You can't take from another town and bring it up.
Yeah, I can, but
Yeah, you
I
want
have to take it back.
Yeah.
So November 9th, we will target November 9th for work session and council meeting that night
Yes.
and hybrid. The mayor's saying no.
No, we're doing Tuesday, the first Tuesday and the second Wednesday, right? We're going back to that.
Isn't the first Tuesday election day in
It
November?
is.
It
Let's see,
is. So
no.
we have to skip that.
Is election day
We
the
have to do
8th?
what Mr. Barnes just said, yeah.
Let's see, is election day the 8th? I think the election day is the 8th.
I think it
Oh, that
is.
seems
the 8th.
late.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it's the second Tuesday?
Correct.
The first, oh.
But the first Tuesday, we have the work session.
Mm-hmm. Second Wednesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, November 8th is the election.
Okay.
And then since we're talking, and we didn't finish our agenda, in December, we need to look at what we want to do. December, we kind of want to ease up on having 2 meetings in case. I mean, if we need a meeting, fine, but if not, because it's the holiday month and everybody is crazy, less meeting, the better. It's family and you want to be in the right state of mind.
That
Okay.
sounds good.
So let's see, we talked about the lunch. I don't have my glasses. See what I'm saying? Oh, here it is.
Here to other business.
The other business is, oh, Mr. Barnes, that's you. Go ahead.
Just everybody knows
A
this
and
by
B.
now. The American Bloom, we had a really successful year. Our evaluation, we had a kind of a difficult judge, and I made that clear to our executive director, and that particular judge I do not believe is going to be back anymore, but she missed
Anywhere.
anywhere, yes, and she missed several things on our evaluation, but we ended up at 0.41% away from 8 stars. We got 7, which out of 10, which is really good.
It's
But
really good.
we should have had 8. But the other great thing is we beat out 37 other communities for the environmental criteria award again, and so we were really happy. And then the best of the best was Mr. Johnson's and the community garden got recognized as the best community garden out of those 37 communities across the country. So a really great job. And then Ed got recognized as our community champion. He didn't win the national award, but he was one of 9 people nominated. So he certainly deserved that. we're going to have a little celebration lunch on Thursday for the staff that worked hard on making it work for AIB. We're already starting to think about for next year. And I sent the report out to you. Please take time to look at it. And there's lots of great comments and good things. Asha's doing some wonderful social media things. I'm gonna give you a report in November. I had her do a report on our social media and how successful we've been with some of our reels and some of our things that she's done and continues to do. So great thing. And then I sent you out an ARPA update. I think the council wanted a list of all the projects we've done so far and how much money was there and what was left. And I sent that out, and I'll keep sending that out as we continue going forward with projects. I
Any
think that was it
questions?
there.
Yep. We're all good with that? We're
Yep.
happy?
Happy as
we-
you know, because true, so
We did win the, Mr. Johnson picked up the Golden Trowel Award from the Prince George's County Beautification Committee for Veterans Park. This is our 5th year in a row, and once you hit 5 years, then they give you a golden trowel. So we are really happy about that. We're going to nominate Town Hall next year for a beautification award. So we can continue to do that program. And then Avery, this past weekend, she worked hard with Greater Riverdale Thrives and helped coordinate and hold the Hispanic Heritage event. We received a certificate of appreciation from them for that work and for our partnership. And I know a number of you were there and saw the success of that program, but Avery worked extremely hard on it, and hats off to her and that effort.
Mhm.
very nice.
Thank you, Miss Avery.
So,
It was a good event.
Mhm.
And the staff participation was good.
Mhm.
And they looked happy
Mhm.
on the Saturday. It wasn't, they were,
It's fun.
yeah,
It was like
I thought it was a good turnout.
family-ish. It was family-ish. It was kind of cool. I like it. So thank you for that. And thank you for the update. And thank you everyone for being here for our work session and your input. I also wanted to make mention now, I'm going to make mention later, but congratulations and thank you to Mr. Barnes. This is year 8 for you. Yeah. So year 8, October is the month that I met him. So congratulations and thank you for your service.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
Yep, happy
nice
anniversary.
job.
And I was right with year 8, right? How long have we been doing, what year was it for American Bloom? 4, 5? Oh, great.
25? Was it 30? 29?
It was
52.
10?
72.
You say 10?
Yeah, he said.
I don't know. I don't know what you said. None of us know what you said.
You know, he said he's gonna take us all out to dinner later.
No, I did say that. 2015 was our first year.
Oh, 2015. Okay. All right.
Also,
Good.
mhm,
All right. So we're going to,
got our sustainable.
oh, that's from Sustainable Maryland. Yeah.
Very nice.
Miss Chester stood in that line. Let him go ahead and
Thank
put
you.
the little thing on there. Thank you so much. Yep. And we just came back from the fall conference, which I think was excellent, but I'm going to let Miss Chester just quickly say so she can go feed her baby.
No, he already ate. I don't know what his problem.
Oh,
No, it was good. I enjoyed the fall conference. It's much smaller than the annual conference. And so it feels a little bit more kind of
intimate.
manageable in that way. It's easier to sort of find out where you're going and get around. And I liked the sessions. I went to a couple different sessions and it was, I think, a good mix of
Yeah.
two. So
Very good sessions this fall conference, but fall conference always has the best sessions, I think. You have a greater range in the summer, but they're more academy related sessions or repeats, and we're starting to I guess shift a little bit. And then we have a new executive director who is now going to be called the CEO of the Maryland Municipal League. Yeah. So, okay, it was a great fall conference. It's the legislative conference, which is why, Ms. Hillary, you saw so many candidates.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll see everybody at 7.
See you at 7.
You can mute and